you do the crime, you're going to pay the time. And here's the lesson. We can't bring back that young man that was killed. We cannot bring him back. Mr. Anthony, he made his own bed. By bringing that knife to school,
Hey, it's Lou Pimber. Welcome to Lou Pimber Speaks, author of the book Breaking Badly. Man, what a news day it is today. I got my very good friend, Mr. Alan Baytes, here today. We're going to chat a little bit about we got these kids, man, just making mistakes and making bad decisions, man. This Karmelo Anthony stabbing and killing a young man named Austin Metcalf, a twin of all that. This thing happened April 2nd, 2025. What a tragedy over at Frisco Memorial High School. My good friend Javier has a son that was there that day, and it was just a chaotic day, tragic for the kids, for the family, man. This kid, Austin, was apparently a junior MVP linebacker at that. Track and field athlete and a twin. Alan, I know you've been keeping up with this. You've been doing your research and just kind of keeping up with what's going on. Where are you at with this? What do you got for me, Alan?
well, first off, I'd like to say my condolences to both families, okay?
Yeah.
This is a tragic incident. You have one child that is not here with us anymore
For
and
sure.
another child that has been incarcerated, okay? And
Yep.
so when you ask me what is my position, the scripture says if you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
Right.
I'm not going to take sides on this. I know people are trying to make this into a racial issue. I'm not, because one of the things I've looked at, and I've looked at a lot of data surrounding this case, and I would invite your viewers to do this. Let's take away the fact that Anthony was black and the other young man was white. Let's just take that away.
Yeah.
If they were both white kids and a white kid stabbed another white kid, should that white kid who did the stabbing go to jail for murder?
Absolutely.
Then there's your answer.
Right.
I know that a lot of people, and here's the thing that I'm saying that, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it, Lou,
Yeah.
but for me personally, as a black man, and you know me, I don't see color. I really don't. I was raised in Hawaii. We don't see color. We see hearts. My question, what we have going on is a generation of young people that, in my opinion, feel that they can do things without consequences. Look what happened in New York after the Spurs New York game and the riots there. Look what happened in certain parts of the country, and these young men, and unfortunately there's a lot of young men in the black community, and I know it happens in a lot of communities, but it's almost as though they want to be gangsters, and if you want to do the crime, you got to do the time. And so, and I'll just ask this question because I was a football player in high school. I understand that the two kids were rivals. I get that. The question I have is, what is a young man doing carrying a pocket knife with a 5-inch blade to an event? And it would be like me telling you, hey, Lou, hit me and find out what happens. Now, if I have a weapon on me, and I'm provoking you to hit me, to me, I have some intent that I'm going to use that weapon. And if I am provoking you knowing that I have a weapon and I'm going to provoke you to use it, well, that's a sense of premeditation, because I will pull that out and I will use it against you.
Right.
And that's
Right.
much different. That's much different than two young men who just get into an altercation and they go to fisticuffs the way that we did it growing up as kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those
This
are my
was
feelings. My number one feeling is this: if we took race out of the picture, two white kids, two black kids, a black kid stabs another black kid, would that black kid be convicted? Two white kids, a white kid stabs another white kid, would that person be convicted for carrying a knife on school property? My feeling is yes.
Of course.
And based on that, that's the way I look at the law. That's the way I look at the outcome. I don't say, it's a black white thing. I absolutely believe that it's a justice thing, and I hope, and unfortunately, I hope this sends a message to young people in urban America that you cannot do these kinds of things without consequences.
That's right. That's right. I agree with you. This is not a race thing, but apparently it is to some people. Why is that? Why does it become a race thing right away? Is it because it's easier? It's easier. People can tune into their emotional side and just cry foul and just cry racism, or why do you think it is? Why is it that it's become a race thing when in fact
Here's what
it
I
isn't?
believe. Okay,
Go.
growing up, we're close enough in age. When I was growing up, I went through civil rights. I was born in 1955. I'm 71 years old. Okay, so we did the marching. We saw Martin Luther King. I remember when Malcolm X got killed. I remember when King got killed. And then we went through the Vietnam War. Well, in the Vietnam War, you had a lot of black people having to protect white people. And after the Vietnam War, we were in the 70s, and everybody came back, and everybody called each other brothers. I remember it
Right.
didn't matter what color you were, we called each other blood, right?
Right.
Because you cut us, we have the same blood. Well,
Right.
what has happened is in this generation that followed, and this is just my own opinion, it's that they were indoctrinated and regurgitating this whole slavery thing, that you're slaves, that you're this. And I think that part of the problem is, if you take it to its root cause, the I was raised with parents that beat our butts if we did anything wrong.
Oh, me
Okay.
too.
And
See Tarapos.
I was raised in a neighborhood that if you did something wrong, it didn't matter if you were white, black, blue, or brown. I got beat by one of my friend's mothers, who was a white woman, because we were both doing
Yeah.
wrong.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So at an early age, we learned discipline.
Yep.
And there's a lot of excuses. Like the one thing I'd like to abolish from the mentality of young black people today: nobody owes you anything.
Not a
Nothing.
damn thing. Not a
No.
damn thing.
And if we look at this whole slavery and race issue, we have a lot of people that have black churches, this church, that church. Well, if you're a Christian and you believe in the Bible, and the Bible said that there was a flood that wiped out everybody, and after the flood, there was only one family in that boat. It was Noah's family. And out of that family, there were three males. There were Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Those three males were brothers, and that's what populated the earth. So this whole race thing has been indoctrinated by people because God did not create race. People created race. And as long as we perpetuate this race theory, young people are going to believe that BS, and they don't realize that after black people were freed as slaves here in America, white people were still being sold as slaves in Africa. But they don't
Right.
teach you that. They
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
teach
yeah.
you.
You know, it, they make it a race thing right away because it's easy to sell. People don't push back on it. Everybody's afraid to push back because if you push back, well, then maybe you're the racist, right? There's so many levels in this case that are just wrong, right? I mean, number one, let's just go back a little bit, right? The root cause of this situation is two young men, one that obviously Carmelo wasn't part of that high school, which is fine. You can visit if you're on the opposing team, all good. But he went and sat in the I guess the tent or the little section where the opposing team sat. And look, I get it. You sit with your team, we sit with our team. We're a team for crying out loud, right? This kid sat on the opposing side like he was looking for a fight. And you're right.
Well,
He
well,
brings a knife
go ahead.
premeditated, waiting
Mhm.
for somebody to say something. He will say, push me, watch, touch me, and watch what happens.
Yeah, and so, I kind of get that. Okay, so I mean, we grew up in the streets, right? Mano a mano. So if you and I were in an altercation, and I said, "Hey, you touch me, watch what's going to happen,"
I
we're
get
going to
that.
get into a fight. We're going to get into a fist
Right.
fight. Okay. Um. Now, if you and I get into this fist fight, does that warrant lethal force? And I say no.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
If I'm edging you on, as I said earlier, okay, so I come to your school. I come to your school in my backpack, my case. I don't know if it was a backpack, if it was one of these holsters that you can keep weapons in. I don't know what he had, but he had some kind of pack. If I come to your school with a pack and I have a weapon in there, and the question is, why am I bringing a weapon? What's that for? Let's say it was for defense. Okay, it's for defense. But then I tell you, hey, Lou, touch me and find out. It's like, and then I pull the weapon. For me, I had an initial intent to
Right.
create harm to you, as opposed to two young men that just, you have rivals in school, which is one thing, but I don't see that's the case, because when I looked at the testimony and I looked at the police records and I looked at the transcripts from the trial, the young white gentleman said, "I don't want to fight you." And Carmelo Anthony edged him on. He says, "No, punch me and see what happens." And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for me, let's just take white and black out of it. If it was two white kids and a white kid told another white kid, "Punch me and see what happens," he's got a weapon and then he stabs the other kid, that's murder.
It's
That has
plain and
nothing to do
simple.
with race.
It's plain and simple murder, and that's why
Yes.
he's guilty. And that's why he's guilty today, straight to jail. And that's exactly where it's going to end up. And you're right. You just take two individuals, no matter the color, and you plug them into that situation. The one who does the stabbing loses his liberties. The one who gets stabbed in this case lost his life. But more on the root causes of this, right? Let's talk about the parents in this case, man. I mean, on one hand, I feel bad for the obviously the Metcalf family. They lost a son,
Hmm.
and I haven't heard much from the parents other than one time the dad spoke, I believe. But you know, may they find some sort of peace and their faith in God and in their family, and they'll never ever be able to live with that boy again in their home, right?
Well,
Um,
and I agree with you 100%. I mean, growing up as a kid, I grew up during civil rights where we called the N word all the time. We'd get in fights, and guess what? The person you fought with became your best friend.
yeah,
Okay, and
yeah.
so we never push things to a lethal position. Um, I Let's go back to the parents, and I don't know the parents, so I'm not going to cast any aspersions out them and tell them how to raise their kids. But I can speak generically. We were raised with discipline.
Oh
When
yeah.
I look in the school system and I see school students punching teachers
Oh god.
and there's no discipline, then what we have is a generation of young people that, and I've been to Africa, are almost like wild animals in the Serengeti. You know, I know you're in the same age group that I am, or very close. We were raised with discipline. We were raised not to do things. And God forbid that somebody bring a weapon to school. You would get your butt beat from here to eternity.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
so I see this young group of people, and we can blame it on a lot of things. We can blame it on culture. We can blame it on rap. There's a lot of blame to go around, and we won't run out of blame. But in my opinion, everything starts with the home. And when I
Yes.
was raised, we had a grandmother, I had my uncles. We had a lot of adult figures to keep us straight so we wouldn't run the streets.
That's right.
And if you didn't do your studies, you got your ass beat.
For
I'm
sure.
sorry, I can't say that on you got your butt beat.
Yeah, yeah. But let me talk about the Carmelo Anthony parents, okay? When this situation happened, right away, either they or someone for them set up a GoFundMe account, okay? Right away, they look. I get it. They needed to somehow be their advocates for their son. Okay, but they right away set up a GoFundMe account, raised over a $500,000. I believe they bought a house, bought an SUV, maybe two. I don't know. And they said that because they were getting death threats. Okay, and the only person who was threatened by death was the one that their son killed. Let's just be real here. Okay, and so and then the money's gone, or I
Well,
guess
I did some research on that, and
yeah.
I deal with the facts. I mean, it's easy to jump on the bandwagon and say this, that, and the other. Did the family raise money? Yes.
Yep,
I also found out that they did pay for a high, a high paying attorney and defense team, so
yeah,
some of the money went there. I understand that, based on my understanding, yes, they went into a nice gated community. I don't know if they bought the home. There's two things that I've been able to uncover, and I will only comment on confirmed data.
Yeah.
That one, there's speculation that they bought the house, there's speculation that they rent the house. I haven't been able to confirm either one. Okay, but here's a bigger question.
But you can't
Okay,
deny that's
so
odd behavior. That's some odd behavior, right?
it is. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're threatened, I get that, okay? So you
Yeah.
raise a GoFundMe, part of that goes to your defense team, and I heard that it was a very, very expensive defense team.
Mhm.
The behavior of the money, if if they find that there's some misappropriation, that they bought luxury cars, jewelry, all these sorts of things, then yes, I would say that that's a misappropriation.
For
But
sure.
for everything that I can uncover, and I really dig deep,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
cannot verify, and there's a lot of speculation, but I have been unable to verify that there was any misappropriation of funds so far.
From what I know is just it was video of them in a new place, new house. Whether they bought it or not, I'm not 100% either. But it was a new car that was purchased because they needed protection. They needed to move around, right? But back to the parents. Look, I hold the parents equally responsible for the murder of this kid. Okay, because uh, they go to the defense of their son, and as if the son is innocent. All of a sudden, they're very quick. They're very quick to make him the victim in this case or at least to sound like the victim instead of taking ownership of it. I get it. You're not going to throw your kid under the bus,
Right.
but my goodness, at least say, hey, we're sorry this happened. Other family took a loss. We want to get to the bottom of it. Obviously, we need to make sure our son has proper legal counsel. We have nothing more to say. And that's it. But instead, you have the dad, you have the mom, you hired some spokesman, apparently a very uh, reputable quote unquote spokesman that look, he's speaking for the family, and the guy has so much dirty laundry behind him. Like, what can he? What? What moral authority does he come with? Right?
Well, and you have to ask what I always look at intent. What is the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay. And the agenda is there are people in our country on both sides of the fence, both sides of the aisle. This isn't left right. This isn't black or white. But there are people in our country who want to keep people separated. Okay,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I'm vehemently opposed to that.
Yeah.
You mentioned the parents. What I find ironic is I read some of this transcript from the police report is that when Mr. Anthony was being apprehended, he was saying, "Hey, can I consider this self-defense?" So there's something. Why would you do that? Why would you take a self-defense plea
Right.
if you were protecting yourself? So I find that strange. The gentleman and how they're coming out. This gentleman is saying, everybody in the black community should be upset. Um, I I vehemently oppose that position because let's go back. If these were two white kids or two black kids, would anybody in the black community get upset? No.
Of course not.
Okay? Because justice would have been served. I think people are using this as an opportunity to separate people, and I hope folks don't buy into this. I hope they look at the facts, and I hope that this is a call to parents all over. Watch what your kids are doing, you know. And recently, and I'm not a big believer in the net, what goes out with AI and everything, but apparently some photos have emerged of Mr. Anthony with some weapons, giving the finger. So, you know,
Yeah.
this person may not be, the choir boy, the Boy Scout that he's purported to be.
Look, I look at the parents and how they behave, and that explains a lot when you look at the kid. Okay, the less I mean, and then who they're surrounded by. Had their tone been that of a responsible parent, right now they would be the first ones to say, "Hey guys, stop what you're doing out there. Stop it. What happened was wrong. We need to see what we can do in court." Hopefully,
Hmm.
some semblance of justice can take place, some semblance of mercy can happen, but please stop. You got guys out there jumping up and down in front of the faces of people. You got guys, you got men, black men out there referring to white people as crackers and all these other things, and they're just it's like, bro, they're saying the quiet part out loud.
Well,
Well, I got a
and
woman. There was a woman today on video saying they should have killed the other brother too.
And and
Same.
that kind of rhetoric rhetoric is only going to create more and more division. And
Yeah.
and I believe that it's 2026, 2026, ladies and
Woo!
gentlemen, and we still haven't learned how to live together as one, and we call ourselves Christians. We have people going to church on Sundays in their Sunday best and everything like that, and they don't even realize that historically, if you're a Christian and you believe in the Bible and Jesus Christ, historically, we come from three brothers. So we're all cousins. Okay. Now I know culturally things happen and time goes on, and even you have arguments in family members. But getting to the core issue of this, yes, parents parents need to take responsibility for their children. And
100%,
if the
man.
laws were such that parents would serve the time when a child commits a capital murder or a capital offense like this, I think we'd see some change. I can
You
say
know
this. There's another situation about a young man, Belton and Mr. Chow, and the Chinese guy that shot the little black kid in the back.
Yeah.
Well, I looked at that case too. And, what is a 14-year-old child doing with a semi-automatic weapon? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
So if these people are carrying a weapon and it says in scripture, you live by the sword, so shall you die.
Absolutely. The, I just it's unfortunate. Let's look at it this way. Had Carmelo Anthony had better upbringing, okay, in a different home, he probably wouldn't have done that.
No,
He
I
probably
agree.
would have looked at things differently. Look, as a kid growing up in the 80s, when there was beef, it was a little scuffle, or we just respected the other team's position and we sat on our side, they sat on their side. And that was it. There might be a couple scraps here and there, right? But at some point in time, Alan, at some point in time, that level of of morality has just diminished, man. And I blame it on a couple things, man. I blame it on the access to video games, the access to information, and I blame it on certain leaders in our communities who have just perpetuated this whole race game, man. They make money on it. If they keep people divided, they can sell the dream one day.
100%. You were in the military, you were in law
Yeah,
enforcement, okay?
yeah,
So you know how psyops takes place, okay?
yeah,
So if we keep indoctrinating these kids, and again, I grew up, I listened to rap music, Tupac Shakur, I loved them, Biggie
yeah.
Smalls and everything.
Dude,
But if this person is listening to hate, hate, hate all the time, kill, kill, kill all the time, gangster, gangster, gangster all the time, that's going to go into their subconsciousness. And guess what's going to be the net result? It's the old statement, garbage in, garbage out. And I agree with you 100%. I believe that our young people today need to get off of this drug of indoctrination that they have, this gangster mentality. And I remember growing up, remember the old Coca-Cola commercial? I'd like to teach the world to sing. Well,
yeah,
we
yeah,
grew up in love, peace, and harmony. And guess what happened for the 30 years from the 70s till 2000? We had that. But,
yeah.
and getting back to your point, yes, I think it's a parental issue. I think it's a cultural issue. I think it's a community issue. And if people don't monitor and police their own, somebody else will. Somebody else will.
Look, the parents hurt this kid more than once. Poor parenting. Uh, uh, After the incident happened, they open up their mouths, okay, and then they open up their mouths afterward as well. After it's all said and done, in no way were they advocates for their kid. In no way were they advocates for their kid.
And again, that when you look at the ages, okay, the parents, I believe the parents of Mr. Anthony are under 50. And I seem to find that there's a different mindset in terms of respect sociologically with people who are over 50 and people who are under 50.
Yeah,
And and we were raised with respect. I see a lot of young people today that mouth off to their parents, that they mouth off to their grandparents. Heaven forbid, when we were growing up, and a child would get his butt beat in Walmart, the grandmother have him on the floor with a slipper. All the grandmothers would bring them around and say, "See, that's what happens when."
line
And
them up.
and these and we were taught respect. I
Yeah,
don't think respect is being taught in the school system. I don't think that I think we have some very, very leniency in our judicial system, and too many people think that they can just get away with things, and hence, guess what? They're raised with this consciousness of no accountability, and that's very unfortunate because the truth of the matter is, you do the crime, you're going to pay the time.
Look, I think as before we got on to speak, I believe that they handed down the sentencing as well. I think it's 35 years.
And
I th
and so and here's the lesson. Okay, we can't bring back that young man that was killed. We cannot bring
Nope.
him back. Okay? And unfortunately, Mr. Anthony, he made his own bed, okay,
Yep.
by bringing that knife to school. And based upon all the testimony that I was able to get from trial, I don't get emotional. You know me, it's the facts. If the facts don't stand up, I'm not going to
Yeah.
comment on them. But
Yeah.
the facts are this gentleman brought this knife to this event. This gentleman, Mr. Anthony, he edged on this other person. And what was in my opinion, the coup de grace was to say, touch me and find out what happens.
That's right. That's
That's a
right.
threat with intent. Okay.
You know,
So if you want to be a bad, tough guy
pay
and
the
you want to
price.
take a person's life,
Yep.
all you young people watching this know that if you take somebody else's life, you're going to pay for that with your life.
Absolutely. Look, it boils down to a couple things. It's what we're listening to, what this kid's been listening to, who he's been listening to, whether it's music, other people, right? And the books that he's read or not read. If he's not learning from the Bible, if no one's mentoring him from the Bible, the Ten Commandments, all those principles that are taught in the Bible, if he's not
Mhm.
reading that, his family's not reading that, if he's not in the Word, right? And also where he's congregating, where if he's not congregating in an environment that's going to uplift him, that's going to teach him to become a good man and become a good young man, to become a good an adult, you're being set up for failure, man. And then at
And
some point, he's got to make his own decisions. And he made his own decisions based on whatever information he had up here. He took a damn knife to a track meet with the intention of hurting somebody.
of hurting somebody. And you hit the nail on the head. And I hope everybody pays attention to this, whether you're white, black, blue, or brown. Okay. Parents, we need to spend more time in terms of what's going into our children's minds.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was
Who has
raised,
the most
I was
influence on their kids?
exactly. I was raised in the streets of Hawaii, and I was very fortunate. A man by the name of Ernie Albright, he got a hold of me. He started making me read books like the Horatio Alger Work Ethic, W. Clement Stone, Napoleon Hill, people like that. Okay.
Okay.
And
Good
so
books.
I thought I missed the train because I thought the whole world had a positive attitude. And I'll tell you this, there's a lot of black people who are successful who don't come from a victim mentality.
Right.
The amount of melanin does not dictate whether or not you're going to be a victim or not. What
Correct.
you do with the life that God gave you is going to determine that. And there's only one person that you can blame for that is the man in the mirror yourself. Now, people will argue, well, look at the communities they're in. And you're absolutely right. Some of these communities are bad, and some of these people in the community need to start cleaning up their community.
Yeah.
But look at all the people who've come out of bad communities who've done something with their lives.
Me. The
Right
first
here,
stabbing the first stabbing I saw, I was
right
a
here.
kid. My dad picked me up, put me over his shoulders, and we walked her over the body because it just recently happened and police were about to show up.
Yes.
I was like, "What the heck is
I mean,
that?"
my auntie, when I was a kid, she used to rent out rooms, and there was this couple that was there, and they were stabbing and blood all over the place. So, I didn't come from a lily white background, but
Yeah,
I was fortunate that I had strong parents, strong grandparents,
yeah.
and I had people who were not afraid to beat my butt if I did something wrong.
Well, look, man, look, Alan, today, I think justice was served,
I would
and I
agree.
think it was fair. And this spokesperson who's planting all these seeds of foolishness from things like a tainted judge and a tainted jury and all this nonsense. By the way, both sides pick the jury. The judge does not pick the jury. The defense and the prosecution in what's called voir dire, they pick
Voir
the
dire,
jury.
right? And during voir dire, both sides
That's
get
it.
to choose. But here's something I don't want. I know we're running short on time, but here's something I do want to make sure and land the plane. Look at this not through the eyes of a black person or white person. Look
Right.
at it through the eyes if that were two white people. What do you think the outcome would be? And do you think that it was served that the perpetrator who killed somebody got justice, or if it were two black people? Let's
Right.
take the race out of it and let's just look at one human being killed another human being. Was it justified? I say no.
Man, there's all these poor black kids getting killed by other black kids in Chicago and all over the place, and no one bats an eye at it. The community members who are raising hell right now are not talking about that. Talk about that. Fix that. Fix, make your bed. Fix your home. Be a good role model. Quit making victims out of people, and hopefully these things will change, man. And I feel terrible for the Metcalf family. Yes, justice was served today in a hot plate, man. This kid's gonna go away for a long time. But fortunately, like the prosecutor said, at least the Anthony family gets to have a relationship with their kid in prison.
And the other family will not. But I hope that
No.
this does do one thing. I hope it serves as and it serves notice to all the young people in America today that, folks, you guys got to wake up. Okay, being this tough guy gangster thing, that's a road to one destination, either incarceration or death. Okay,
Right.
wake up, young people. That you've got to wake up, respect people, and if you respect people, you will be respected. Now, there's crazy people on both sides who won't do that, but I will
Sure.
tell you from my own experience, you get the amount of respect that you show other people.
Absolutely. Well, Ellen, thanks for hopping on and chatting with me today. I knew you'd be a great resource and full of facts and details and give me your unbiased truth. So thank you
Well,
so much for that.
it's
We'll talk
always a
again.
pleasure, Lou. God bless you, and have a safe trip.
We'll do, bro. We'll see you soon, my friend. Adios.
Bye bye.